Hi everyone, it's Melissa Simcox and Sadie Mae coming to you today from By Mimi with Love. And today I want to do a little process video on different inks and stamping. Phone Jones did a video last week and was struggling with doing some stamping and asked me to do a video showing everyone how I use stamps anyway. I'm not an expert, but I'm just going to share my information with you guys. So let's get started. The first thing I want to tell you guys is when I get ready to stamp, I am going to find a flat surface that is very hard. I'm using my lapper scrapper. That's what this is called. It's made out of a old piece of countertop, and I just use it for when I really need a good surface. This is just a push pad I found in. It came with another tool that I got for scrapping, but even a mouse pad will work, but you do need some type of foam pad to stamp on. That is how I found that I get the best results. I'm also using a stamp cleaning pad. This is not necessary. You can use a rag with water or whatever, but I like this because it will clean the intricate parts of a stamp. And I'll also use baby wipes. So let's get started, guys. Now, the first thing I want to do is tell you guys about some of the inks I use. Um, one of the first inks that I often use, especially when I'm doing pocket letters and that kind of thing, is the dye-based ink. And it says it right on the front that it is a dye-based ink. The good thing about dye-based inks are they're usually pretty cheap, and they are a thin ink, so they dry really quick. The only drawback about a dye-based ink is they will fade over time, especially in sunlight or bright light. But these will fade over time. But like I said, it's great to use for pocket letters and that kind of thing because it is a really fast drying ink. So let's see how this works. Okay, guys, I am going to now let me show you first. I'm going to be using two different kinds of stamps. I'm going to use rubber backed stamps, which might be mounted on wood or not. And I'm also going to use acrylic and photopolymer stamps. The only difference between photopolymer stamps and the clear acrylic stamps is the photopolymer is a thicker stamp, a thicker rubber, and it is usually more expensive. But I have found over time that really both stamp just as well. Another thing that I wanted to share with you guys was how I store my clear and rubber back stamps if they're not mounted. And I use old CD cases. Um, Back in the day, my children and I used to buy CDs all the time, and I just gutted all of my old CD cases. Um, the clear stamps and the rubberback stamps stick to this wonderfully. I've got a little paper here that I cut off of the packaging and put there so I'd know which stamp it was. And yeah, that's how and then I also store these CDs, the CD cases, in one of the CD towers. So it works really great. But anyway, let's get started and see how the dye-based ink works. And one thing that I often do when I'm stamping, I'll take this is an acrylic stamp, and I will lay it on the paper where I want my image to be. And then I take my block and pick it up. Then I use my ink pad and I apply ink onto the image instead of applying the image onto the ink. Just making sure everything is covered well. Then I'm going to go where I want my stamp to end up. Place it on my paper, and I'm going to apply gentle pressure And I'm going to count to 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That just gives the ink a second to remove itself from the stamp. And there you have it, guys. That is with the dye-based ink. You've got a pretty nice image there. Um, Pretty clear. I like that pretty well. And like I said, I like the dye-based ink for pocket letters and things that I'm not worried about lasting over time. I've got ink cleaner already sprayed onto my cleaning pad. Like I said, the little ink pad scrubs off the intricate part of the stamps. And then I just use a baby wipe and finish cleaning that off. Okay. Now, the next ink that I want to tell you guys about is the Distress Ink by Tim Holtz. I know most of us use that, but probably not many of us use it for all the things it can be used for. Tim Holtz Distress Ink is a water-based dye ink. Therefore, you can use it with water, guys, and you can also use it with watercolor, okay? So, let's give this one a try. Just going to remove that. I'm going to take a wood-mounted rubber stamp. I'm going to apply my Distress Ink. Once again, making sure my single sheet of paper is on my pad and on my firm top or surface. And then I'm going to, once again, hold firmly in place and count to 15. Like I said, don't put so much force into this or it will cause the stamp to smear your ink. Lift off, and here's our cute little elephant image. And it really stamps pretty nice, actually. Now, the fun thing about the Distress Ink is you can go back in with water because, like I said, it's water-based and you can use it with water. Just going to put a little water on here, pick up some of the ink, and then you are painting your image. And like I said, you can also use this with your watercolors. But how cool is that, guys? And because the Tim Holtz and the dye-based ink are both water-based, they dry really, really fast. So, as we all know, you can use this ink for distressing. You can put it on a makeup sponge, use it for distressing. But you can also use it to stamp and color with, which I think really makes for fun for using the Tim Holtz Distress Ink. Okay, now our next ink, let me clean my little elephant real quick. See, I just love that on the rubber stamp based or rubber backed ink pads. Just removes the ink really quick and you're done and done. Okay, now the next ink that I want to share with you guys is Pigment Ink. And the Pigment Ink is a thicker ink. You're going to use the Pigment Ink when you want a longer lasting ink because it's archival. It's an archival ink. It's going to last for years. And it's really thick, so it's going to take it a little longer to dry. But at the same time, you're going to get such a beautiful image with this ink because it's thicker and it just is a nicer ink. Okay, here's the Pigment Ink. And they'll say right on it, I mean, that says Pigment Ink. This is by American Crafts. And this you will often find at Tuesday morning, and it really is a beautiful ink. Um, so let's give the pigment ink a try. And the sponges are usually thicker with the pigment ink. And like I said, it's a thicker ink. So let's give it a try and see what we think. Once again, we're going to come in with our little clock. I like to apply the ink onto the stamp. Find our spot on our paper. Apply the stamp. And once again, we're going to hold it for 15 seconds and give that ink a chance to transfer to the paper. And off it comes. And there you can tell what a beautiful stamped image you get with the pigment ink. It's just a really sharper, um, nicer ink, really. It does take it a little bit longer to dry, but for the most part, it's worth it. I really like the pigment inks. I like the vibrant color and the coverage you get with them. So once again, I'm cleaning my clock stamp. The pigment ink can be a little bit harder to get off of your stamps, but no big deal, really. My block has gotten wet, so my stamp just slid right off. There we go. Okay, now the next type of ink that I often use is the Versamark. And everyone knows that the Versamark is the way to go when you are doing embossing. Um, it is a watermarked ink. This is not a glue, it's an actual ink, but it's a very sticky ink. So, because it's sticky, it works with the embossing powders, and it's what we use to emboss with. I'm going to use the black paper to give this a better effect and for you all to be able to see it. So, with the Versamark ink, we're going to do the same thing again. We just simply apply, and it's sticky, so it's lifting the ink or the stamp up off of the block because it is sticky. And then once again, we're going to stamp our image, holding it down the 15 seconds. And there you can, I hope, see the watermark. Now, it does take the Versamark a few minutes to dry, but it really don't limit yourself on just using your Versamark for the embossing because this watermark effect can really be pretty if you do it all over a um, piece of paper and use it for the background. It can really, just give you a little example here of how this can look, and you can create your own background paper. But as you can see, that is a pretty cool effect with that Versamark. So don't just limit yourself in using your Versamark for your embossing, although that is the stuff to use for embossing, but it also works great for the watermark. Beautiful on vellum to do a watermark. It's a really pretty effect. So there's the Versamark ink. Now next we have StazOn ink. And the thing about StazOn is it stays on. It is a permanent ink. That's what it's designed for. It's also designed for just about every surface you can come up with. It is a solvent-based ink. And it's got a solvent in it just to keep it adhered to most surfaces. So if you want to stamp on acrylic or the plastic, like you wanted to stamp on the outside of your pocket letter page, the actual pocket, the plastic part, then you would use the Stays On. It's really great for that kind of thing. Excuse me, guys, I'm going to have to get me a little drink. Sorry about that. But this will stay on most surfaces. And it is an archival ink as well. It lasts, for as long as you need it to. So, and the other thing about Stays On Ink, the thing that I really like it for, is it works great on text. If it's a sentiment, a word, any type of text, it's a very clear stamp and it lasts, it's really detailed and sharp. So once again, I'm going to take our ink, bring our paper back over here, cover our stamp with it. And down we go, holding firm for 15 seconds and allowing that ink to transfer to our paper. And there you have it, guys. There is the Stays On ink, and as you can see, it really, even the small words, you can read them. So it works really well for, like I said, text and that type of thing. So it really, really can be useful. The Stays On ink, you can use that on acrylic or just about any surface, really, and it just really works great. The only thing it will stain your stamps. Stays On is Stays On. It's meant to stay on rubber, so it stays on your stamps as well. So if you don't want a stamp stained, you do not want to use the Stays On ink with it because it will definitely stain it. Okay, guys, now the ink I guess most of us often use is the Memento ink. And Memento ink is good. The Memento is good for, you don't just have to use it in the Nora Black. This is a good ink. In any color, this ink works really well. And it is definitely my favorite ink for coloring. Um, you can use this ink to color with, and you are not going to get smears when you use your permanent markers and your watercolors. If you're going to color, sorry about that, guys. I had a little slight interruption there. But if you're going to do coloring, watercolor, if you're going to color your stamped image in any way, then I would recommend the Memento ink. The Stays On does work, but I have used it. It does not work as well. You will experience some fading and bleeding if you use it. So let's give the Memento a try, and we're going to use the little girl image. And as you can see, that just comes out really easy. You're going to use your acrylic block with her. And once again, you're going to apply your ink, making sure you get it everywhere. Place your paper on your cushion pad, and down we go. And once again, now the only difference with these and the clinging stamps is you can see the clinging stamps. You can't see that image through there. But for me, it's just not that big of the deal. The few stamps that I have like this, I really like, and they're worth the extra trouble. And here is why I like the Memento. You get such a beautiful, clear stamped image with the Memento stamp ink. It's just a beautiful stamped image, and it's ready to color. And most of the time, I'm using the Spectrum markers, and I'm just going to lay some color on here so you all can see that even with this light pink, I'm getting no smearing and able to color her with no smearing at all. So this works great for coloring. It's just a great ink for when you're wanting to color. And let me show you once again. I'm going to apply the Memento into our stamp. And we're going to stamp her again, holding again for 15 seconds. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Dropped her. And just want to show you guys how versatile, once again, these two inks are. I'm using the Distress ink, Tim Holtz Distress ink. I'm going to pick up a little of the paint and applying the paint, the ink, the Tim Holtz ink again, and still works with the Memento. So just a great ink for coloring. If you're doing coloring, it's the ink to choose. It is also a great ink for text. It works on the text very well. You're going to get a very nice, sharp image when you're doing text with the Memento. Again, counting to 15 seconds. And lift off. And as you can see, you've got a beautiful text ink. So I would definitely recommend the Memento. It's a must-have if you do any coloring or any type of text stamping. It's just a really good ink to use. Okay, guys. Now, the next kind of ink I want to show you is a special ink that I bought because I wanted to do stamp on wood. And this is called the Color Box Crafters for fabric, wood, and more. It's a black color. But I used this to stamp on my table that my son made me. I stamped, and it worked great on wood. It is, so a lot of times if you're planning on doing some kind of special project, excuse me, guys, go to like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I found this at Hobby Lobby, and read the stamp pads. They are different, and they are for different surfaces. So if you're looking for a ink to use on wood or that kind of thing, this is really a good ink for that process. Okay, now, last, guys, I wanted to go over with you this stamp right here. This is a wooden stamp, and this is similar. I tried to find something similar to what Phone Jones had used that day. She was using a stamp of like 4 gentlemen. But the reason that this stamp is similar is because it's got a flat stamping surface. You can see that the words are embossed down into the rubber. It's not on top of it. Like, for instance, the words on this one are on top of the rubber. But this stamp is carved down into the rubber. And this is a much harder stamp to get to stamp. You have to saturate your stamp really well. You want to make sure it's clean of all oils and that kind of thing. And my favorite kind of ink to use with this kind of stamp and get the best result is an ink that I absolutely love, and it is called chalk ink. Here is an archival multi-surface chalk ink pad. This is a chalk ink pad. The reason I like the chalk ink is because it works on about any stamp. It'll work on acrylic, the rubber stamps. It's just a really good versatile stamp or ink, and it is a great, beautiful finish. Left in direct sunlight, it may fade a little, but it really is pretty much archival. Just a beautiful ink and a beautiful image. So we're going to try to use this on this flat surface stamp because like I said, it's a much harder stamp to get your nice results out of. So I'm going to turn my pad this way so I've got plenty of surface area. And excuse me, guys. I know this video is getting long, but it was a lot to cover. I really hope this helps. Okay, one thing you'll find out about chalk stamps is most of them do have a cover on them to protect them from drying out. And it's a messy ink, so the cover's nice. Make sure you leave it on there. So I'm going to apply my ink again. And the chalk ink is a thick ink. Maybe one reason that it works so well with this kind of a stamp. So we're getting the ink on the stamp. You want to make sure you cover every part and that each part is well saturated. And now you can see with it saturated how flat it is. And this is the most difficult stamp, I think, to get to come out right. This flat surface. That is why it's so important to have that cushion on there. You're going to get your best result with that little soft pad. And like I said, any type of foam pad will work. An old mouse pad is great. People even use a magazine, a soft magazine. I don't find that works as well, but people do use them. So I've applied my ink, and now I'm going down on my surface. And because this is a flat stamp, I'm going to apply just a little more pressure. I'm going to give it a minute, the 15 seconds to transfer the ink. But after I do that, I am going to start with the top of the stamp and just push lightly because I want every single part that I can get to stamp on there. Because that flat surface is really hard. So I'm going to take my time with this and try to get the whole flat surface to come in contact with my paper. So as you can tell, it's taking me a little bit longer. I'm really working with it. And I bring it up, and here's the result. So I've got quite a bit of coverage. You can see that the one of many moods. You can read the words, but I've only got a couple of little light spots right here. Now, one thing that you want to do when you're working with a stamp like this, okay, I see where it's still on the stamp. So definitely want to practice. I'm going to come back in and try it again and see if I can get a little bit better image. Sometimes the the best you can do is the best you can do with these flat stamps. They just don't transfer the color as well. So I'm just going to turn this over and do it on this other side. Now I know that I lost, some of the flat part over here, so I'm going to apply just a little bit more pressure, hoping to get a better stamp this time. Spending a little time with it, and up it goes again. It's a little better, but there's still just a little bit of a light area there. And what I can do is just come in with my paintbrush, pick up a little of the pigment, and color the sparse parts in, which really helps. Um, so there you have it, guys. That's how I stamp. Um, that's how I do it. Um, just a few tips. Like I said, I'm no expert, but I've spent a lot of time stamping. It's something I really enjoy doing. It's a lot of fun, and you can really create some beautiful images with stamping and coloring. The possibilities are endless. Um, but I hope this helps. I hope this helps you, phone. Like I said, come back in with that paintbrush if you need to, and just fill in those sparse parts. Um, guys, stamping is just a creative method. A lot of people do it different. If you've got a better way, or if you've got some tips that you think might help me, please leave them in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I know it got a little long, but it is a process and it's a tutorial. Really hope it helped, phone. Thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate everyone that tunes into my channel. And from Damascus, Virginia, God bless you all, guys, and have a great weekend and a Merry Merry. Bye bye.